Investment advisory services offered through Independent Solutions Wealth Management and Blackridge Asset Management, LLC. Peak Broker Services, LLC is not an affiliate of Independent Solutions or Financial Guys, LLC.
You're listening to The Financial Guys.
We're $23 trillion in debt, honey. We don't have an extra surplus of money.
Newsflash, guys. Stop attacking businesses, because when all the businesses are gone, nobody's going to pay your salary anymore. You get that?
If the goal is to create a loser mentality, you're winning. I'm going to build a big, beautiful wall with a big, beautiful door. Well, guess what? We have a big, beautiful door, all right. It's the wide open southern border, right?
Yeah. Here's Glenn Wiggle and Mike Lomas.
Alrighty, welcome back. Financial Guys Podcast, the place where money meets politics. Mike Lomas and Glenn Wiggle, we are the Financial Guys. Again, the place where money meets politics. We have a lot of fun with this podcast. We do manage money for a living. We have offices in different parts of the country, flagship office at 305 Spindrift in Williamsville, office in Rochester, New York, and a fairly big presence down in South Florida, too. So, and then some satellite offices all over. So if you need us, 833-FIN-GUYS. If you think like us, we actually had a liberal that hit the website this week, and she was not happy with us because
let me
she
guess.
said
she was just about to invest $1 million.
just about. She was just about to, yeah, just about. She actually,
of a-
to her credit, she didn't throw out a number. It usually is $1 million.
Okay.
And they hate when we say, God, it's glad that you found out our political views now and we didn't have to kick you out of the firm after you transferred everything. Oh, does that fire them up? But if you think like us, use us as a resource. Again, 833-FIN-GUYS, and all of our content, our social media content, you can find at our website, thefinancialguys.com. I don't even know where to start. I mean, we've got impeachment. We've got Bloomberg, right? It's amazing to me. He actually did something right, and now he's apologizing for it. So we'll talk about stop and frisk. Talk about the markets and the, I guess I don't want to say volatility. It really hasn't been volatile in the market. It's been sort of boring and slightly upward. So we'll talk about that. Although just the opposite, by the way, of what most economists said would happen 12 months ago. Exactly. Do yourself a favor. For those of you panic, and for those of you that watch and make your financial decisions on a daily basis based on what you hear in the mainstream media, do yourself a favor, go back 12 months ago and find out what they were talking about, especially the mainstream media. The mainstream media was talking us into this great recession. It was probably going to be a really bad year. The economic numbers were probably going to start to fall off because, of course, the Obama policies were going away. And the stock market was going to have a rough year. Of course, just the opposite happened, where we're still at record low unemployment rates and a stock market that has done pretty handsomely over the last 12 months. So,
we talked a couple weeks ago, Mike, about the difference between conservatives and and liberals when it comes to the reality gap. And it's not just a philosophical gap anymore. It's a literal reality gap. In liberals' minds, they think the Obama economic plan got everything going, and it was just a natural continuation when things just, when you look at the actual economic recovery, it looks a lot like the hockey stick thing from climate change. Remember, it was like kind of like slow and flat, and then all of a sudden this big spike. That big spike is when Trump was elected. That was the economic activity big spike, see? But in liberals' minds, their reality is totally different. Their reality is Obama put the right policies in place. As a result, we had 8 years of rising markets and rising economy, albeit at point-something%. And then it just was a natural, continuation of the Trump administration, and he's just benefiting from all those Obama policies. But after a few years, certainly the Trump administration's new policies will, by all means, it will definitely tank the market and tank the economy. That was the conventional wisdom. Here we are with growth, solid, 2%. Not great, but solid. It would be better if we could just cut the size of government, and that's the one thing that President Trump is not getting right. He's getting right the regulations, getting those slash 25 regulations gone for every one new regulation. He's got the right idea with corporate tax cuts. He's got to come back around for personal tax cuts. That's important. But what they're missing is the federal government and the federal bureaucracy is continuing to spiral out of control. And at 3-point-something unemployment, the private sector dying for jobs, or workers, not jobs. They have plenty of jobs. It's the workers they need to fill the jobs. That's where if you're ever going to cut the size of government and government workers, now's the time. But they won't
Got to do it. Absolutely got to do it, Glenn. It's the biggest problem in this country is finding qualified people to actually work. Still with 40 million people sucking off the system, which is remarkable to me. I mean, to me, I don't care, Democrat, Republican, stop the welfare chain and send these people back to work when we have the opportunity to send them back to work, but they're not doing that. Speaking of Obama, he is warning Democrats now. He says they are going too far to the left. Now, I can't figure out whether Obama really believes this or whether the Obamas now have finally figured out that they're making some money, and now they don't want to be taxed at those high tax rates. Wait a minute.
That could be.
We've got multi-millions of dollars. I want to keep it now. I want to keep more of my own money.
Right.
But the reality is he knows that they're not going to win like that, right? And I said this. So we both have said this forever. Go back and watch Obama, the first and second go-around, when they run for office, and when he ran for office, he actually sounded a lot more like Donald Trump than he does Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, right?
Yep.
I mean, we all knew he was a radical left-wing nut job. We all knew his father was a communist, and he was raised that way. However, and we were all scared about it, knowing that once he got into office, he was going to put massive amounts of regulations on the economy. But he didn't run like that. And the rest, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren didn't get the memo. They didn't get the playbook. The playbook is you got to be a little bit more moderate, but sort of lean that way. Then you get into office. Then you do what Obama did, and to his credit, which I wish the Republican Party had his backbone, because to his credit, as soon as he got into office, he rammed Obamacare down everybody's throats, massive amounts of regulation. He used his executive authority to add on all kinds of regulations to the banking system. Too big to fail. Remember all that garbage?
Increased taxes.
Yeah, the cash
so
for
Obama, this
clunkers.
article, so this is New York Times. Obama says average American doesn't want to tear down the system. I would say that the majority of Americans, 75%, like the country just the way it is, and actually liked it the way it was 30 years ago. But, this is from the guy who said we're going to fundamentally change the country, right? This was the guy who basically campaigned that he was going, in some ways, he campaigned moderate as if he was going to, more like Trump and the middle of the road. But in a lot of ways, he was radical during the campaign. He talked about fundamentally changing America. He talked about changing the system and changing the way that America was perceived on the world stage. And he did that. He absolutely did that. The amazing thing, again, I keep going back to the reality gap. In liberals' minds, he went around the world and gave us status again. I don't know what status they're looking at, because the status that he gave us was the second, the passenger seat, the back seat, right? That was the status he gave us.
Yeah, he
this is a guy, you forget about this stuff, right? Because the media never talks about it. But let's not forget, this was a president who backed the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt when I think it was Morsi was ousted as the president of Egypt, right? So he backed a terrorist organization, a known terrorist organization, the Muslim Brotherhood. That was Obama's pick. Which because of his help, was able to actually take power in Egypt. Now, they were overthrown and thrown out, right, in a bloody coup. But, it's amazing the damage that this guy did. But I think he's not so much talking even about the tax that he's going to pay now that he's wealthy, because, of course, they'll do all sorts of tax shelters and all sorts of stuff. He's talking about winning the election. This is a message to the liberals in the primary that you guys are never going to go anywhere on this. And he's right, because nobody in America wants communism. And this is why liberalism is a lie. Because if they're honest about what they want to implement, they would lose 90-10 every single time.
Yeah, this is actually out of CNBC, Glenn. And he says, but he emphasized that whatever the candidate is, whoever the candidate is, their ultimate job is to get elected. It's to win, right? That's the point. So he knows that, and he knows that they're not going to win by going as far left. And to his credit as a candidate, he was on the edge, right? I mean, he didn't go too far left. In fact, he talked about protecting our borders. He talked about how unpatriotic it was to have all this debt. Remember that? I mean, he called out George Bush, He said we need to cut the size of government. I mean, he really and of course when he got in, he rammed it down everybody's throat. So I do love it. And Obama, by the way, the Obama family will figure out a way. Oh, but this is a separate note, but Al Sharpton, did you see Al Sharpton this week? His tax return. He is such a dirtbag. He pulled over $1 million out of his quote charitable foundation. I don't know. I guess the only charity is the Sharpton family. Yeah, $7 million they raised. He pulled $1 million of it out. He still owes the IRS $700,000.
Can't the IRS garnish his wages? If that was you and me, Mike, the IRS would be garnishing our wages if we owed the IRS
our wages.
that kind of money.
We'd be in jail. We
would never get the check. We'd pull $1 million out of the business, and the IRS would come and take 70% of it all day long. How does he get away with that stuff?
Back to your point about these left-wing nut jobs and where their reality is, right? Their reality is the shame on the rich, shame on the rich. Unless you're a Democrat, right? Mm-hmm. And Al Sharpton, you can be Al Sharpton. You can pull out $1 million a year without any problem, right? Yep. You can screw the IRS without any problems, and nobody's going to blink an eye at you. But Donald Trump does that and doesn't pay 40% as opposed to 30% tax bracket or whatever it is.
Right.
And shame on him. Right. He's a criminal. Yeah, it's a total joke. Really but how are we doing with time? We'll take a quick break now. Well, you know what?
I definitely want to. We got some more. I definitely want to tease. I think we're short.
I definitely want to tease this. We want to talk about Bloomberg. I mean, he stop and frisk was something that actually worked. It shows you how radical that party is right now, right? They implemented something from basically Rudy Giuliani, and I think it goes all the way back to like 1968. But it actually worked.
Right. I will say this though: Bloomberg now is running in the Democrat primary, right? He's got anything that was potentially, not completely liberal, like letting criminals out of jail, which, by the way, in New York State, they're doing left, right, and center. And I'm going to call it that or not, but they've just released a whole bunch of violent offenders. We talked about this last week because New York State, they put this no bail requirement in place, and nobody thought about the backlog of reviewing these cases to let these people out, right? So the judges are taking it upon themselves just to get a jump start on it. We're just letting them go right now. But
that should do well. That should go well.
Stop and frisk, in my mind, is actually unconstitutional, right? Because you're talking about stopping people without any suspicion just to frisk them because you want to. And that is absolutely, I don't know how it even got, passed, but that, in my mind, is absolutely against the Fourth Amendment because you have to have some level of criminal suspicion right now. Well, if the drug dealer's on the corner or there's a suspicion of a crime, then absolutely you should be able to stop and frisk. But I think, in some cases they were doing that. In some cases, I think the policy actually went too far and was an infringement upon. Now, did it work? Of course it worked, right? Because, you're going to put fear in the people that potentially have contraband on them. But
it's funny you said that,
the right
though.
Policy.
The cases went up under Bloomberg, right? Under Giuliani. I think the cases went up sixfold under Bloomberg as opposed to Giuliani.
He abused it.
So he abused it. He was the one who took it to the next level.
Bloomberg is a tyrant.
The original case, though, the original case, Terry versus Ohio, you did need reasonable suspicion. You couldn't just pull somebody over for any reason.
Right.
So
Bloomberg abused it, which is typical because Bloomberg is an absolute tyrant. Let me just be clear about that. This is a guy who wants to tell you what to drink, what to eat, how to go to work, when to go to work. He's telling you to drive a roller skate car, walk and ride your bicycle while he takes a private helicopter to and from his office and to and from his, the Bermuda or something.
I will say before Giuliani actually started to do this, though, I mean, people were afraid. They were putting their babies in bathtubs because they were just afraid of random fire in the city. I mean, it was a total disaster and a mess.
Yep.
And you needed to do something to be proactive to get that city back on track. The shame of it is.
Great job.
The shame of it is that, it actually worked. I mean, it did work. Yeah. Homicides were down 70%. And, of course, now Bloomberg, to appease the left and the nut jobs on the left, he's got to take a policy that actually did work that he should be sort of proud of. I'd be bragging about that. I'd say, look, at homicides were down 70% when I was in office. That's a good deal, right? And that's, by the way, that most of them were inner city black kids who got saved. Those homicides were not rich white families from the suburbs that were getting saved. So
speaking of which, was it AOC who said she was a target of this? You sent me I was a potential target of that?
No, her and her family were specifically targets of this. Yeah. But yet, if you study AOC, she actually was raised, I think, in Westchester County, which is more of a little bit higher up, 90-something% white community. So. Yeah, no. She's, but again, her reality is different, right? She must, in her brain, she actually probably thinks that she grew up somewhere different, right? Certainly her economic degree is very different than the one you and I received.
I guess so. Yeah, I didn't learn that socialism was good when I got my degree in college. I didn't learn that communism was a positive thing. I didn't learn that food bread lines were good. I mean, the fact that Bernie even says that, if I'm Trump, I play that clip over and over and over again, and he's finished. Bread lines, they're a good thing. At least in communist countries, those that are in lines, they get food. Those in capitalist countries, they starve. Bernie, go find me the poor skinny guy, okay, or the poor skinny lady, because I got to be honest with you, most of those folks are not like the epitome of health and shape. I'm just saying.
No, they're the ones eating. They're the ones eating the fast foods. They
don't look like they're starving to me. I'm just saying.
No,
and that's,
they're not.
That's the thing that, by the way, I've said this for a long time. And when it comes to welfare, we mentioned earlier, 40 million people still on food stamps. Look, we are all about helping people that need it, especially when it comes to kids, right? But let's be honest here. We've got a program that is set up where you're literally paying people to go out and try to find people that qualify for food stamps, even though they might not need it, and say, oh, guess what? You qualify. You qualify. Free. It's free. It's free. It should be going back to, oh, you're in real need? Oh, you can't feed your family? Absolutely. Let's give it to you. Not, oh, you qualify. Oh, you don't need it. No, I know you got your Social Security and your pension. You're fine because you live within your means. But listen, you qualify for this. So why not just take it, right? Well, and that's what they're doing. They're out there encouraging people, and they're paying people like a commission for them to sign people up on food stamps. The sad thing is that at some point, and you don't ever want to hurt the kids, and that's the toughest part, because a lot of these families will neglect their children if they're not on welfare, right? But for those that don't have children, for those that are single, able-bodied people without kids in the household, I got to be honest, hunger is a real motivator, right? Stop paying them to be poor. One of two things will happen. Either they'll get their shit together and they'll go out and they'll get a job, right? And they'll actually support themselves, or they'll starve to death on the streets, I guess. But at some point, we have to start to look at this and say, what is a reasonable amount of assistance from the government to somebody? How long should they be able to take that assistance? And what are the qualifications to receive that assistance? If there's kids, that's one thing. But again, there's a lot. I'll never forget the story, Mike, in Buffalo. The kid was 16 or so, 15 years old, and he robbed a gas station at gunpoint, and he was killed by an off-duty police officer. He was shot and killed because he pulled a gun on he was threatening to shoot people. So the police officer, did the right thing and defended himself and the people around him. And I remember the interview with the mom going, oh, he was such a good kid. He was just about to qualify trying to qualify him for New York State disability and Social Security disability. Yeah. Really. He was 16 years old. He sprinted into the store like a marathon runner.
He's out gangbanging at 4 o'clock in the morning.
On.
He doesn't need disability. Yeah.
Disability.
He doesn't need disability.
He's jumping 6-foot fences like a freaking Olympic athlete, for Christ's sakes. I mean, he had asthma.
You said one word that's key with welfare to me, and that's reasonable, right? Reasonable is, when I was a kid, we weren't poor, but my family didn't waste money. We didn't, and I don't mean that I go out to dinner and stuff like that, but we didn't do that kind of stuff. We didn't go out to fancy dinners and stuff like that. My mom stayed at home. She bought bulk food a lot of times. We froze the food. She'd break it up, right? We were never on public assistance. My dad always worked his butt off, had plenty of 2 jobs when he needed to, right? But reasonable is, not here's a credit card, go get your cash out. And by the way, those credit cards are being used in casinos, they're being used in strip clubs, they're being used all over the place, except for actually going to get the basic necessities, right? Because when you break it down, and I've had this conversation with my wife. My wife does more of the shopping because she knows that I'll just show up with Doritos and it won't be good for the family, right? So she's like, that's out. It's not that we divide it up and she just doesn't let me, right? But I'm like, look, if we really needed to, and she needed to go out and buy bulk stuff, whether it was pasta or, eggs and milk and cheese and the basics, right? And that's what welfare was really designed to do. Remember the block cheese? And I'm not saying we give people crummy food, but they shouldn't get an ATM card to do whatever the hell they want with it. It should be for the basics.
That's right. You used to give out government cheese and things like that, right? You go to a pantry, you'd get the food that they gave you. Now you can go to your friendly Wegmans or Top Supermarket, buy ribeye steaks if you want to.
Yeah,
you could
and
buy,
they do.
and they do.
And
lobsters.
they do. So
long as
and by
it's
the
not
way, don't call us and say,
food.
"Oh, shame on you guys." It's the truth.
No.
If you want, I got a buddy of mine who's a regional director up in Western New York for a big chain of grocery stores, and he will tell you the first week of the month they come in, they use their card, and literally about half of them, he said about half of them will go over and buy lottery tickets. They immediately take the cash out and then go spend it on lottery tickets. So don't tell me that they're all there's.
Right.
Yeah, are there a few of them that are trying to better themselves? Yes, there are. The system is designed to keep them there. That's the problem. They're making financial decisions today to say, I'm not taking that job for $25,000. I can make 40 on welfare. Let's take a quick break. We come back. I want to talk definitely about some of the impeachment hearings and the really draining of the swamp. I mean, Adam Schiff, he looks like a nut job, by the way. Somebody better tell him to blink or something. His eyes are
he's a
scary.
pedophile. We'll talk about that when we come back near the side of the break. He's definitely you're going to find out that he likes little boys. I think that's going to be very clear in the next couple of months. He
reminds me of Kristen Bailey, Blasey Ford, the eyes, just the nut eyes. I think they actually
she got an
believe
award
they're
this
garbage.
week, Mike. She got the Courage Award.
I saw that
from the ACLU.
ACLU, yes.
The Courage Award for trying to destroy somebody's career based on false allegations with no corroboration
should have been CNN.
whatsoever.
CNN should have been awarded that. CNN should have been awarded that, not her.
Amazing.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back. Financial Guys, the place where money meets politics. If you do need us throughout the week and you want to talk to our team, we have certified financial planners, chartered financial analyst, certified Social Security claiming strategist, registered investment advisors. We have a team of folks, and they work as a team, and it can help. 833-FIN-GUYS, 833-FIN-GUYS, and we can help. We'll be back. Alrighty, welcome back. Financial Guys, Money Talks, the place where money meets politics, podcast. And for those of you new to our podcast, we've done radio shows throughout the country over the last 20 years. And this is cool. This is a different format for us. I mean, we've been doing podcasts now for 9-10 months, but I still feel it's new. Considering that we've been on radio for 20 years. So appreciate you tuning in. If you need us throughout the week, folks, we do manage money for a living. We have a ton of fun with these podcasts. If you need our help, you can go to our website, thefinancialguys.com. Or, of course, you can call 833-FIN-GUYS, 833-FIN-GUYS. And we do have offices. We got flagship offices in Western New York, Buffalo, New York, Rochester, and down in South Florida. But we also have some satellite offices in different parts of the country. So if you're tuning in, we've got some strategic relationships. I've got my Yorkie Fox Terrier here. So is she barking? Oh, no. What'd she get into? I'm afraid to ask. All right.
If you like what you hear on this podcast, by the way, you can check out any of our 3 radio shows. We're on WFTL, AM 850, News Talk 850 in South Florida. That streams live on the iHeartRadio app. We're on WBEN in Buffalo, our flagship station, AM 930, News Radio 930, WBEN. Yet streams live on radio.com app. And then we just picked up WHAM 1180 in Rochester. So you can pick that up on iHeartRadio as well. So multiple places to find the radio shows throughout the week. They air Saturdays from 1 to 3. You can listen to them live or in replay as well on any of those particular platforms.
Yeah, so let's talk about the impeachment. We haven't talked about that much. I actually think the IG report next week will indict Adam Schiff. That's where I'm thinking it's going to go. I think Adam is the one who he basically came out and started this whole mess to probably, it looks like, protect himself. Very much like the Biden family, right? So, nothing to see here. I will say, though, that I do think the Republican Party needs to figure out, and I this sound like a broken record with this, but get a backbone, man. Get a backbone. Yep. This is an incredible time to really go on the offense against these Democrats. And nobody's drinking the Kool-Aid except for the mainstream media, right? The mainstream media is ignoring the fact, as you pointed out before, that Adam Schiff is tied to a bunch of pedophiles, right?
Yeah.
The mainstream
I would say more
media,
covering for. Not so much ignoring. I would think covering for, right? So trying to provide distractions, trying to shift the narrative.
totally missing, exactly what the original intent was of this whole thing, which is to actually uncover the corruption of the Biden family, right? And it's funny because I think you played some videos last week. It was on a podcast or the radio show about the mainstream media actually did look at the Biden family 20, 30 years ago. But now that he's a candidate, they're all like, let's just forget about all those stories, right?
He was
Let's
actually
just
a
forget
candidate
about the
20
Biden
years
family.
ago when they looked at him in 1988 when he was running for president the first time. He plagiarized a famous speech. He lied about it. He lied about his college transcripts and whatnot. He said he finished in the top half of his class. He finished in really in the bottom half, close to the bottom. And once the media found that out, they called him out on it, and they forced him out of the race. They embarrassed the hell out of him and they were right to do so because
that's when they used to do investigative reporting.
That's when they used to do
investigative reporting.
Now, fast forward 20, 30 years later, and we're burying the transcripts. We're sealing them from Obama's Columbia University stint and his Harvard stint, right? So
we still haven't even seen his birth
into
certificate. He might not even be an American.
That's right, yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, Mike, because I just watched that video recently. I never realized there was videos of that plane crash. So there was, and again, for those that don't believe in the deep state, I never did until the last probably 10 years or so watching all this stuff. I never believed in this stuff until Fast and Furious. If you would have told me 15 years ago that our government was selling high-powered weapons to Mexican drug cartels, I would have said, oh, come on.
No way.
But now that I realize that stuff like that has actually happened, the only person that actually signed off supposedly on the Obama birth certificate, the health director for Hawaii, went down in that plane crash. I never saw the video, but I did find, for whatever reason, somebody posted some videos recently, and I'm telling you, there's no possible way, right? So the story was, if you don't recall, the 8 people hopped on a commuter plane from the Big Island to Oahu or wherever they were going. They were hopping islands from one island to another, as happens, 1,000 times a day in Hawaii, right? The plane ended up, now the news reports said it spiraled down into the water. Actually, it was a very nice soft landing, so soft that the passengers were able to get up and get off the plane before it actually sank. Now, I never saw the video, but somehow all 8 passengers survived, no problem, no injuries whatsoever, except for the health director, who somehow died in the crash and never, so the report was said she never got out of the plane and it went to the bottom of the ocean. Now, I just saw that video recently, and I'm telling you, she did get out of the plane. She was floating just fine in the water. There was no panic whatsoever, and suddenly somehow she doesn't make it out. So I don't know if she was pulled under by somebody or something.
If you tie cinder blocks to somebody's legs, Glenn, though, it's really difficult for them to keep floating up on top of the water, right? It's really amazing, though, when you think about like Fast and Furious and them saying, well, we just forgot to put the trackers on the guns. Oh, yeah, that's a common mistake that with all the advanced training that everybody in that department has that you would do. Yeah. And then now you look at Epstein and you say, okay, this is just getting obvious, right?
Now,
it's totally obvious.
Totally obvious. Now, keep in mind, during the Fast and Furious hearings, what's his name? Eric Holder was held in contempt of Congress for lying to Congress. Now, how come he lies to Congress? He lies with sworn testimony, right? He lies, right? We know he lies. It's obvious that he lied. There's documents that show he lied, and he just walks away. No problem. Retires, no problem at all. Yeah. Now, Roger Stone supposedly lies to Congress, and he looks like he's going away for life. And I'll say this: Roger Stone should be absolutely fearful for his life because they will kill him in jail.
Well, he is fearful.
They're going to put him in jail.
I believe he is fearful.
He will not make it 1 month to 2 months in jail. He knows it. I know it. You know it. Yep. Everybody knows it. They will take him out. Same thing, by the way, with Whitey Bulger. I'm not sure people, not to get down a conspiracy trail, but all of a sudden it just came out that, a while back that Mueller just so happened to be the FBI director that protected Whitey Bulger, that kept innocent people in jail because Whitey Bulger was an FBI informant. They let him in Boston go on to murder several people. They protected him, the FBI did, with Robert Mueller as the head. And as soon as that news broke, they just so happened to transfer Whitey Bulger from that prison in Boston to another prison facility in like D.C. He was killed within 48 hours of that transfer over. You're talking about an 80-some-year-old guy in a wheelchair, and they beat him to death, literally. Yeah. That's how disgusting. And I'm telling you, it wasn't like, oh, we're just going to transfer him because we want to transfer him. It was we're going to transfer him before any media gets an opportunity to talk to him, and before he sing, because he's getting close to his deathbed. He's 80 years old. He's going to sing like a canary. He's going to roll over on all the FBI and all the things. We got to get rid of him, and they did. It's exactly what they did.
Well, Roger, I'm sure is
what's happened with our government is out of control. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Think about what they're doing to WikiLeaks, right? Remove Roger Stone, get him out, get him in the jail, wipe him out. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Julian Assange, nobody has heard from him. They arrested him. They threw him in jail. Now, the whole Roger Stone thing, they talked about Roger Stone supposedly getting the Russian emails or the hacked emails of Hillary Clinton and the DNC from WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks has said, no way, I didn't get it from him. I didn't get it from Russia. That's not who hacked it. And
he's
so they
in jail
got to clean it up. Here's who
and he's
here's
in jail
who took
anyways.
it. Here's who took it. That kid that was killed on the street of D.C., right? That staffer, I can't think of the guy's name. Seth Rich. Seth Rich was a DNC staffer. He was pulling data off of the DNC servers. He was feeding it to WikiLeaks. They offed him on a street. None of the cameras worked, Mike. Just coincidentally. Every single business on that street has a camera. There's no video footage at all. He was shot 3 times in the back. Nothing was taken from him except for maybe the thumb drives he had in his pocket, right? Because his wallet was still there, his phone was still there. So they wipe out the guy who's taking it out, right? The guy who's pulling the material out. They take out Julian Assange. They put him in solitary confinement. He will be killed. He will not make it out of prison. You'll never see Julian Assange again. His life is over. Yep. He will be tortured to death in whatever prison they're holding him in, and they're going to do the same thing to Roger Stone. And that ties it nice and neatly up into a nice little bow now, doesn't it? Right? So the allegation is that Russia hacked the DNC. We've never seen the server, right? We hired CrowdStrike to do the review. The server is, I don't think, even in the country, right? If not, it was already destroyed. They wipe out the guy who is pulling the information off the server, and they take out the other 2 people that have knowledge of those emails so that there's absolutely no one they can talk to. Just like they did with Whitey Bulger before he had a chance to roll over on the FBI and sing like a canary, they wiped him out. This is what our government now has come to. So when we talk about an unequal amount of justice, when somebody like a Dinesh D'Souza goes to jail for 9 months for an over-campaign contribution, but Rosie O'Donnell can do it 5 times under 5 different names and walk scot-free. There's a huge problem in this country, and I'm hoping that Trump in the next 4 years can get to a point where he literally, with the IG report, wipes these people off the table and gets them into jail where they belong.
And that is exactly right. They have to go on the offensive. They have to clean it up. He talked about and ran on the platform of draining the swamp. This is the swamp. It is stinky. It is messy. It's deep, and it needs to be fixed. It's funny though. Pelosi this week. This is such a shit show. These witnesses come one after another. Do you think Trump did anything wrong? Not that I can see. It's like, what the hell are you here for? What are you doing?
Did you witness the phone
why
call?
Are you here?
No.
And now
did
my
you meet
favorite
with
is
President Trump? No.
Now the favorite is, well, they've got nothing, right? So now Pelosi's going to say, hey, Donald, you should come and talk to us. Well, Trump's like, I didn't do anything wrong. This is the United States of America. You're supposed to prove I'm guilty. I'm not supposed to show up and prove I'm innocent.
She said if Trump has, evidence that would clear him of these crimes, he should present
clear him of what crimes?
No, that's not how this works.
That's not how it works.
Right?
You're
No crime was
supposed to
committed.
prove
What
he's
is he
guilty.
supposed to show? He released the transcript, Nancy.
Yeah,
he put the transcript out there.
Yeah, they're
Here's
desperate.
what this is hiding, Mike. Here's what they're desperate about. And this is why Adam Schiff is so
Well, they're desperate
campaign.
about his connections to these sexual predators. Number one.
Yep, that's right.
And they also understand that the only candidate that has a chance is Joe Biden. He's the only one that has a little bit of a chance, right?
Yeah, no, he's got no chance.
And the real shame of it is they are corrupt. The Biden family is corrupt. They've learned out of the Clinton playbook that you can make millions and millions and millions of dollars and nobody will bother you. And they were doing it and they got caught. And Obama was nervous about it. Obama said, I'm nervous about these ties. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So now it's biting him in the ass just like we said it was going to.
Yep. So Adam Schiff, good friends with Ed Buck. Now, Ed Buck was a huge Democrat donor in California. I think the third young black gay man was found dead in his apartment. So what Ed Buck was doing, everybody knows.
That's common, by the way. That happens.
It's obvious. What Ed Buck was doing was he was preying on these folks. He was bringing these guys to their house.
He was Bill Cosbying them, drugging them up.
Them. Yep. Providing them methamphetamines, providing them all kinds of drugs. He gave a little bit too many drugs to a couple of these guys, and they died. He let them get away with it once. They let them get away with it twice. And I think it was the third one where they finally said, wait a minute, minute, this doesn't seem right. They should have arrested him after the first one, right?
How does that happen, by the way? How does it happen?
Buddies, Adam
If
Schiff.
somebody's dead in our house, if they're investigating
they don't just take him away like, oh, sorry. Right? Oh, he had a drug overdose. No, they're cleaning out our house, Mike. They're
That's
taking
right.
our computers.
Where do you get the drugs?
They're boxing up everything in our
That's
house,
right.
and they're taking
Yes.
it with them to search for drugs. No
you,
doubt about
you,
it.
Your life is over. You have
he's a
lost
Democrat donor.
everything, and it's
Hey.
going to cost you millions of dollars to defend yourself, even if you didn't do anything wrong.
Yep.
Even if,
Well, he's
if you
in
and I
jail.
didn't, if we had a holiday party at our house and somebody drugged themselves up in the bathroom and we had no idea about it, I guarantee you and I are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, to defend
No doubt.
ourselves, to say, I didn't know the drugs were in the house, right?
Absolutely. But Ed
Not
Buck
with
is a
these
Democrat
guys.
donor, so no problem.
Yes.
He gets away with it, right? Good buddies with Adam Schiff, by the way. But here's the next one now. This is 2 sexual predators in as many months for Adam Schiff that he's good buddies with. An Emmy-winning former medical correspondent for, guess what, NBC, go figure, right? It's all connected, folks. Hollywood, TV media, right? ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, they're all in it together, right? As far as protecting each other from, you know, Epstein. So Emmy Award winning, I didn't realize you could win an Emmy for being a medical correspondent, but for NBC, was arrested for allegedly asking a 9-year-old girl to send him sexually explicit photos, according to new reports. Dr. Bruce Hensel, 71, was charged Wednesday with asking the daughter of a friend through an online messaging app for photos in August, the Los Angeles Times reported. Hensel,
That's
who
sick.
worked as the on-air chief medical correspondent for NBC New York and Los Angeles, faces 1 felony count of contact with a minor for sexual purposes. Let's see. Who else did that? Oh, yeah. It was Anthony Weiner, right? Bill Clinton, right? I mean, look at the long list. Adam Schiff. It just so happens that Adam Schiff
Clinton-
is heavily
Clinton-
involved in children's charities, just so you guys are aware, too.
Yeah, nice.
He shouldn't be, but he is.
Nice.
You're
You
gonna
can
find
see in
out
his
that
eyes.
he's a sexual
I'm telling you
predator,
right
too.
now, you can see in
He's
his
a
eyes
deviant.
he's a nut job. I said the
a
same thing about
deviant.
Christine
No
Blasey
doubt.
Ford. You can look in their eyes, manic depressive nut job. That's what he is. And I hope the IG report comes out next week. I hope they go after this guy, and I hope they make an example of him, because that is ultimately draining the swamp. That is exactly what these folks need,
right.
is to be bit in the butt with their own medicine. And you know, I do
Adam
believe what goes around comes around, and it's going to come back
Yep.
around to them for sure.
Mike, Adam Schiff and the Democrat Party traveled to Ukraine, met with them, looking for dirt from Russia on Trump during the campaign to help out Hillary Clinton. Now, that's not working with a foreign entity to influence our elections. I don't know what is, right?
Yep.
Trump calling up saying, listen, you need to investigate these folks is absolutely nothing. Now they've changed the word to bribery because it sounds a lot better than quid pro quo. I don't
will
think she
say-
understands how bribery works. See, to bribe somebody or extort somebody, you actually ask for something and you get that thing, right? Or you withhold something from them. Neither of which happened, right? They never opened the investigation back up, which they should have, but they didn't. And we never withheld any money from them. They never knew that we delayed anything. That was never part of the conversation. And the best part is Trump and the Ukraine president have both said this was totally fine, and no, I didn't feel pressured whatsoever. So this is
So
such
did
a
all the
joke,
witnesses
and
this week.
Here's what's
So
gonna,
did all
so
the
did all the
witnesses this
witnesses.
week.
Here's what's
Every
going to
witness.
happen. Every witness. Here's what's going to happen. Nancy Pelosi was right earlier this year when she said we're not going to go down the impeachment road unless we have bipartisan support. They didn't. They never got bipartisan support. They did it anyways. And Nancy Pelosi should have stuck with her political instincts because she is a good politician, right? Adam Schiff is not. Adam Schiff is a loser, right? But unfortunately for Nancy Pelosi, she just ended her career because she listened to Adam Schiff. What's going to happen next year is Trump's going to walk back into office. He's going to win 35 states easily. And the Republicans are going to shellac the Democrats in the House. And the Republicans are going to take back we have the Senate already. We're going to take back the House, and we're going to have the White House. And I got to tell you, if in those 2 years we don't get a repeal of Obamacare, we don't get personal income tax rate cuts, we don't get some of this ridiculous Dodd-Frank rolled back and all this other garbage, if the Republicans don't take that 2-year opportunity to do what the Democrats did in their 2-year opportunity, then the Republican Party will be no more. anymore, unless they go the way of Trump and start following him. But I think they're going to win in a landslide on both.
Let me add one
cases.
thing to that, though. I don't think none of that happens unless the Republican Party gets a set of balls and goes after these people, right? Because the Democrat Party is accomplishing exactly what it really wanted to accomplish right now, right? What they were afraid of is that Trump was going to start to investigate the Biden family, right, for the corruption. And instead, we're now talking about impeachment. And Republicans are even doing that. Republicans are going, well, maybe he did do something, right?
Yeah, just a couple. No, not very many.
No,
not
I
very
agree.
Many.
But here's the teachable moment for the Republican Party. Find your testicles and go after these people. Go after the Biden family. You said you were going to go after the Clinton family. Remember that, Trump? You did say that when you ran. You said you're going to. Now Clinton's out making money, millions of dollars, right? So that's like go after the Biden family. Don't back down from these dirtballs. Go after the Biden family. Go after and indict Adam Schiff. And then, you know what? Then everybody walks into the White House next year. Everybody. But to your point, then also actually do something with it, which, by the way, you didn't do the first time around. So we'll see.
Right. Well, let's hope the IG report. Let's hope you're right, Mike, because I'd love to see that. If that's the case, then absolutely, it's a full-on shellacking for sure.
Yeah, but that's what they need to do. That's what they need to do. Trump has proved to everybody in the Republican and Conservative Party that, look, if you want to win, you're honest with people. We've got a debt problem in this country. We've got a welfare problem in this country. We need to solve it. And we've got a very deep bunch of dirtbags in this group that need to go. And this is a great time to start cleaning the swamp, which is exactly what you promised us. So,
did you see one last thing, quick, and then get back to Epstein, and we'll wrap this up. Did you see the BBC interview with Prince Andrew? What a disaster for him! Oh my God, he did a 60-minute interview on the BBC interview, and they asked him point blank, "Were you? There's a photo of you." With that underage girl, she's out there talking. She found asylum in Australia, and she's the one that's out there, really, trying to push this thing ahead. Because I can't say that it wasn't me. I don't remember being in the photo. Now let me ask you something, Mike. Have you ever seen a photo of yourself with somebody and go, gee, I have any recollection of that photo being taken?
No.
Now, mind you, if I was like maybe in college, like passed out at a party, I could not remember. But I don't ever remember looking at a photo of me going, yeah, I have no recollection of that incident at all. I don't remember being in the kitchen. Come on, she's claiming that she slept with you. Remember that?
I didn't have that much fun in college. But
my Lord.
Yeah, I remember every bit of it. Yeah.
This Epstein thing, Epstein, Schiff, Weiner, Clinton, right? All this is tied together, and it all needs to come down.
Got to go after it, though. Got to go after it. Got to prosecute him. Got to go after it. Got to push it forward. Can't let them go like the Clinton server deal. It's got to be pushed forward. Got to round them up. They're rounding our good guys up. Roger Stone's going to jail, right?
Yep.
So
Roger Stone's going to the death chamber, basically. I mean, you might as well say that because he's not going to. They are going to off him in jail for the things that he knows. It's just that simple.
Hopefully, he can push jail out long enough where Trump can.
Let's hope he gets. That's one thing I don't understand. Why doesn't Trump step up at this point and say, "Manafort, you're out. I'm going to pardon you. Stone, I'm pardoning you. You're out." Manafort, look at what Manafort did. Manafort was basically a hit for tax evasion and not registering as a foreign agent. And he sat in solitary confinement, and now he's in jail for God only knows how long. Right? I don't know what his sentence was. Right?
Trump's got to get him out.
Clinton did the exact same thing. Biden's could be guilty of the exact same thing, right?
And don't play the political garbage, Trump. Do it. Just do it. Do the right thing and get him out.
Put her in jail. Put her in jail. Put them all in jail. It's one thing that what's his name, the former attorney general, actually did a good job of, along with Trump, is they have taken a record number of sexual predators off the streets. He's taken more off the streets, 4 to 5 times more a year than Obama did in the last 4 years.
If
combined.
I'm Donald Trump, I'm spending my own personal resources to go after Adam Schiff. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing my own personal resources to tie this guy into these scumbags and end this garbage once and for all, right? What will they move on to? Russia, Ukraine. What will they move on to? All right, on behalf of Mike Lomas, Glenn Wiggle, if you need us throughout the week, 833-FIN, guys. We do manage money for a living. Use our team as a resource, whether it's financial planning, estate planning, Social Security planning. We have certified Social Security claiming strategists in our offices. Medicare planning. 'Tis the season. You only got a few weeks left. If you're unsure of your Medicare plan, you just want an opinion on your Medicare, use our independent certified, AHIP certified reps as a resource. Go to our website, thefinancialguys.com. Like us on Financial Guys YouTube, right? What else am I missing here? RMD, Required Minimum Distribution Workshop. If you are 70 and a half or older, the government is forcing you to take your money out so they can get some of it in the form of taxes. We have in our flagship office, 305 Spindrift in Williamsville, a workshop that will talk to you about how to protect that money, how to pass it on to the next generation, and some strategies to maximize that. So if you're in the position of having to be forced to take your required minimum distribution, I would encourage you to go to our website and sign up for that workshop. On behalf of Mike Lomas, Go and Wiggle, we're the Financial Guys. We'll see you next week here on the Financial Guys podcast.